And a welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Great Lakes Honda City studios. Hope you're having yourselves a wonderful morning this morning. Appreciate your patience here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Happy to be here with you where sports meets that thing called life. Like I said, inside this Great Lakes Honda City studios, Great Lakes Honda City coming to you on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. You can get to Great Lakes Honda City from so many different places around the central and upstate New York community, and we look forward to getting you over there Monday through Saturday. They are open, and you can find out more about their vast array of vehicles by going to GreatLakesHondaCity.com. That's GreatLakesHondaCity.com. We appreciate everybody that's gone over there. Let them know that DT sent you, and I appreciate it very much so. With that being said, inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', giving you the list of topics for the day. Papa Joe joining us here because it's a Thursday. So Thursday, as you know, is PJ time. And Papa Joe joining us here to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars. They made that decision to bring in their new head coach. Well, they had interviewed Liam Coen, and apparently it wasn't in person. All those interviews that we saw apparently were not in person, so maybe they used a Zoom, or Microsoft Teams, or whatever they used, and then they decided, here's the guys that we want to bring back, and Liam Coen was one of those names that they wanted to bring back and interview, but allegedly, he was going to stay with the Bucs. Trent Baalke was still the general manager of the Jaguars, and the Jaguars said, we're requesting an in-person interview with Liam Coen, and allegedly Liam Coen said, nah, I'm good. I'm going to stick here with the Bucs. And then Trent Baalke got fired, and all of a sudden Liam Coen said, maybe I'll come. And then within just a little bit of time, a small, just skosh of time, as they would call it, he decided to become the Jacksonville Jaguars' next head coach. Sounds like, from the outside looking in, and I could be totally wrong about this, but it sounds like there was a little bit of jockeying there. It was like, I like the job, but I don't like Baalke. Get rid of Baalke, you can call me. So maybe it was a chess move, who knows what it was, but what it ended up being is Liam Coen's the new head coach of the Jaguars, and Trent Baalke is no longer the general manager of the team. So PJ and I are going to be talking about that. We'll also get into the NFL, the Chiefs versus the Eagles, which happened because the Chiefs defeated the Bills. Well, the Chiefs and the refs defeated the Bills. And then the Eagles defeated the Commanders. And then in hour number 2 at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time, we'll speak with Joe Theismann, SuperBowl Champion and Notre Dame and Washington alum. Will be joining the show to speak with me on many different topics, including the quarterbacks of these Final Four games in the NFL, Leonard at his alma mater, Notre Dame, and more coming up with Joe Theismann in hour number 2. So with that being said, PJ joins us first. We're going to jump right into our conversation. Picture in picture with the man. PJ, how are we doing today?
There I am, Daniel, yes. Would you bring your microphone closer to you when you talk, please?
Oh, it's right here, PJ. It's right here.
I have my hearing aids in, too. Yes, I'm much better, feeling a lot much better with MT taking care of me, and I'm good. Of course, we have babysitting duties every afternoon with children, and MT and I are back in the classroom, so we have a very full life, as Mary says, very full life.
Yeah, got a lot of stuff going on for you guys back at the Lando Lagoon. So let's get into the Jaguars. You're down in North Florida. What's been going on? Bring me into the timeline, because it legitimately felt like that. It felt like they wanted Liam Coen. Liam Coen didn't want them. Then they fired the GM, Trent Baalke, and all of a sudden Liam Coen wanted the Jaguars. What's been going on down in North Florida?
Well, I told you several weeks ago that Coen was the one that they wanted. And, of course, we know what's happened with Tampa Bay and everything. But, this is Shad's bad. This is, instead of me saying my bad, it's his bad, because he really messed up this whole deal. And I think he probably, I don't know if he broke any laws, but he sure wasn't upfront about his hiring practices with Liam. And Liam didn't have a clue anyway. From what I understand from the pundits down here, that Liam Coen was going to get almost $4 million a year for being an offensive coordinator for Tampa.
Yeah.
But when the job came open after Mr. Baalke's disappearance, shall we say, and that sort of re-energized things. And he actually is fired up about it. I mean, I saw that. Did you see the press conference? His press conference.
Yeah, I saw a piece of it. I haven't watched the whole thing yet.
Okay, well, he's a different kind of guy. He's kind of a goofy guy, and he's trying to say Duval, and he
I
screwed
did
that
see
whole
that.
thing up.
Yeah.
You know, and he's got a different way of coaching. I know that he he's mentioned that he wants the guys to go 100 miles an hour. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. I want them to hit harder than he. We're going to get some penalties every once in a while, but I want you to finish the play, go through the play. Da, 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 da. So, and then I see him at the microphone. He's doing his press conference, and he's this goofy looking guy, you know, and he's smiling and he's got a goofy smile. He's just a goofy guy. I mean, um, I'm not sure if the impressions were good with the Duval people down here. I don't care about any of that. All I want them to do is do X's and O's. That's all. I want to see 30 points a game, and I want to see a 10-7 record. That's all I want to see.
Yeah, and like you said, and I saw that part where he said Duval and is a little interesting and whatnot. But I mean, are people excited? Is the newspaper, is their response positive? Is the local media positive? I mean, you see the rumblings and you've seen kind of everything leading up to this. Are they like, we got our guy, or are people kind of still uneasy? I mean, obviously it's going to be a while before we see a game played, but how has the response been?
Well, it's people. People were excited for anything other than Pedersen. That we know that just wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
And I don't know how a Super Bowl coach like him could fail at a franchise like we got with a generational quarterback. I still can't figure that one out. But Cohen's the next guy to step up, take a swing. That he was less than endearing when he was doing his press conference. Maybe that's just the way he is, because he looks a little goofy and talks a little goofy. But apparently, when he gets into his super cape there, he can really lay it out. So all I want him to do is he's going to change everything. I don't know who he's bringing in for offensive, defensive court. He's going to have I'm not sure he's having an offensive coordinator, but he's going to be calling plays. That's for sure. So the defensive coordinator is very important. I think that the jury is still out on him. I think they have to wait to see him when he's located here with his family and starts going to the stadium and setting his things up, going to his office, coming up with a schedule for the men and so on and so on and so on. So I'm looking forward to that. I just want to be sure that he has his head on right and he knows what he's doing. He has bounced around a little bit. That causes me some consternation. I mean, from 2010, I think, to the 2025, he had at least 15 jobs. I mean, he was going back and forth and back and forth. He went to Kentucky, then he went to Washington or something like that. He back and forth. He went to Kentucky twice, and all of a sudden, here he is as the head coach. So I know this is something that he wanted, and I think he's excited about Trevor Lawrence for sure. Offensive line, defensive line. Look at the Jaguars are mostly last in everything that counted last year. Defense, offense, everything. So whoever's coming in is who it is him. It's going to have a really tough voice, and he's got to do what he's got to do. And I'm sure some guys are going to have their feathers ruffled, but these guys are men, and they got to man up. This is one time they really got to man up.
Yeah, and speaking of man up, they seem to have another man stepping up. Tony Boselli, who was an offensive lineman for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tony Boselli, first member of the Pride of the Jaguars, and the first Jacksonville Jaguars player enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, is said to be having a role with the organization moving forward, according to Jaguars owner Shad Khan. He confirmed that would be happening here. He said, quote, "We're going to have a position. We're checking with the league what the rules are, what we have to follow, and then we'll take it from there," end quote. I don't know what the heck that means, because you can obviously hire a former player to be whatever you want them to be. It says Boselli was involved in the head coaching search, And Coen thanked Baselli along with Coen and multiple other Jaguars officials during the press conference. So there'll be something to be said here. Coen also addressed multiple areas, including the team parting ways with former general manager Trent Baalke. Coen during a January 6th press conference to discuss the dismissal that day of head coach Doug Peterson that he would consider on executive president if he, quote, found the right person, end quote, and that he was open to front office changes this offseason. Isn't it funny, PJ, because what have I been saying since the beginning of the season is that there's front office issues with the Jaguars? Did I not say that? Did I not make comments about front office issues? Did I not say that they had a culture problem weeks before Doug Peterson said it? And did I not say that Shad Khan was interviewing Trent Baalke while Trent Baalke was interviewing coaches, and he may not even know it? So
you're right. You said it all.
Even if
I think we both agreed on all that.
Yeah. So even if I'm not physically there, I still have a pulse on what's going on. So maybe I should be there. But the Jacksonville Jaguars, I mean, Tony Baselli, allegedly he's going to be somewhere with the team. Keenan McCardell, he served as a wide receivers coach in recent history. We know that Fred Taylor is involved with the broadcasts. Mark Brunell has been around the team in recent history. So, getting the band back together. If I'm Liam Coen and I got guys that know ball and they're very, high-profile, notable Jaguars, I would consider having some of these guys on my staff, including a Baselli or a McCardell or a Jimmy Smith or a Fred Taylor or a Mark Brunell, because that was the glory time for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I think Shad Khan and Liam Coen should be open to that, because not only is it a feel-good hire, but if you hire the right guys and they really know ball and they really want to coach or be a liaison or whatever it may be, even if they want to be a scout for college talent, I think there's something to be said about bringing guys back that help bring the Jaguars to their best history that they've ever had.
I think that's correct. I think it's a brilliant move on Khan's part. It should have been done long before, but we didn't realize that Pedersen was going to flame out the way he did. I think Baselli coming in to, shall we say, cause a little bit more order. You talk about culture all the time. Maybe Baselli wants to help with the culture change and so on and so on. Every time I hear the word culture change, I don't like the term, for one thing, because it makes me think that it's a black and white issue.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. If you have a culture change in your locker room, you get black guys raising hell, and the white guys aren't doing nothing, and back and forth, back and forth. I don't like that term, culture change. It's not a culture change. It's just a reorganization of men. These guys are men. They're not green, black, white, whatever, They got the same blood. They got Jaguar blood. They need to be treated like men. So, forget about the culture stuff. Come in with a organization that you want to follow and bring in some Fred Taylors and Tony Basellis. It's a brilliant move. Maybe it was a little bit too late. So Forget about the culture stuff.
Well, and I think when it comes to culture, I mean, I can speak to this from being in the locker room. What I've experienced is there's guys that become viruses in the locker room. And so when you are changing the culture, you're essentially trying to cleanse the virus. They had a virus with Yannick Ngakoue, Telvin Smith, Jalen Ramsey, Marcel Darius. So you get those out of the building. What they didn't have a virus with, in my opinion, was A.J. Boye and Calais Campbell. And when they left, I think it really affected the team. So I can understand from being in that locker room and seeing guys over time, there were guys that were a detriment to the culture, a detriment to the positive move forward. They're talented, but a detriment to the overall culture of the team. And I think that they have to look for those guys. I think offensively, on the offensive line, who are going to be the guys that are going to bring this team together? On the defensive line, who are going to be the guys that bring this team together? I think they have good linebackers. They have a good quarterback. They have good running backs. They have a good tight end. They have some good wide receivers. Brian Thomas Jr. did a fantastic job as a rookie. But what they're lacking is, in my opinion, on the offensive and defensive line and living in the secondary a little bit. They have to decide if they're going to extend Andre Sisco past his rookie contract. they have to decide if they're going to extend Travis Etienne Jr. past his rookie contract. And those are the next two big ones to fall, in my opinion. They are your starters. Foye Oluokun got extended last year. Josh Allen got extended last year. And we know that Trevor Lawrence has a new contract. So really now it comes down to, are you going to stick with Etienne and Bigsby? Because Bigsby's under his rookie deal. So is Etienne still going to be the glory horse that you have? Is he going to be your main guy? Or are you willing to move on from him? Are you willing to use him as trade bait? And then Andre Cisco, I think their issues are with the corners, not necessarily their secondary when it comes to safety. But are they going to stick with Cisco? I think if they let Cisco go and they have issues with corners, they're going to have to heavily draft corners and look for them in the offseason, as well as an entire secondary if they let Cisco go. But I think Cisco's done a great job. Keep in mind, he's one of those guys that has intercepted Pat Mahomes in recent history. To let us know a little bit about Liam Coen, he was a coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last season. Taking a look at him, he has a 15-year coaching career. Served as the Bucs offensive coordinator this past year, and he was the Rams coordinator in 2022, and he was the University of Kentucky's offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach in 2021, playing into PJ's statement of a little bit concerned that this guy has bounced around so much. One season in Kentucky, one season with the Rams, one season with the Bucs, now in his first season with the Jaguars. Now, last season with the Bucs, the offense, after ranking 23rd in the NFL in yards and 20th in points in 2023, ranked 3rd in yards this past season and 4th in points in the NFL of 32 franchises. They were the only team in the NFL this season, 2024-25, to have to be top 5 in rushing and passing offensively, ranking 4th in yards per game in rushing with 149.2 and 3rd in passing with 250.4. The 2024 season marked Cohen's first season calling plays on a full-time basis. Head coach Sean McVay called plays much of the 2022 season when Cohen was the coordinator for the Rams, so he wasn't the 100% coordinator for the Rams, if you will. Now, he's from Sean McVay's coaching tree, so there's something to be said there. And Cohen, coaching stops at Brown, Rhode Island, UMass, and Maine, was then hired by Sean McVay with the Los Angeles Rams. He worked with the Rams as assistant wide receivers coach from 2018 to 2019 and the assistant quarterbacks coach in 2020 before spending a season at Kentucky as offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach and then returning to the team. So returning to the Rams, that is. He played at UMass, so he's in UMass's Hall of Fame. He started at quarterback for the Minutemen and led the team to a 37-14 record from 2005 to 2008. He was an Atlantic 10 All-Conference third-team selection in 2006 and was a CAA All-Conference second team in 2007 and 2008, and he finished 18th all-time in FCS Division I AA career passing yards with 11,031, 20th in passing touchdowns with 90. He holds the UMass career records for passing yards, 11,031, attempts, 1,303, completions, 830, touchdown passes, 90, completion percentage, 63.9%, passing efficiency, 152.92, and yards per pass attempt, 8.47, and helped the Minutemen to the 2006 NCAA FCS National Championship game. He also led the Minutemen to an NCAA postseason appearance in 2007 and conference titles in 2006 and 2007. So, we wanted someone that could train Trevor Lawrence and train him well and help him get to his next level. Well, here's a guy who played quarterback in college, who had a lot of success in college, and so there's something to be said about that. Yes, he's been an offensive coordinator, and he's worked in a lot of different places, and he worked for Sean McVay. We also see the fact that he is training a quarterback as a former quarterback, and he's been a quarterback's coach. What do you think about that, PJ, in relation to Trevor Lawrence?
Well, certainly it's a huge advantage. I mean, the guy's not a slouch. I'm not saying he is. I'm just concerned about what type of attitude he's going to bring to the team.
Yeah.
If he's going to continually, if he has, in most cases where you have the offensive coordinator call the plays as the head coach, you got a guy that just strictly offense. He wants to do offense. He wants to make the plays. He says, defense, hey, you're on your own, buddy. Here's your coach. You do that. But if you're going to be a leader man, you got to do everything. Special teams, defense, and OC. So I'm looking for leadership. I really am. I'm looking for these guys to say, hey, this guy's got a good track record, albeit spotty, bouncing around a little bit. He was a hell of a quarterback in college. He knows his business. No doubt about it. He knows his stuff.
Yeah.
I think he's left-handed. If he's left-handed, that's weird. How do you teach Trevor Lawrence if you're left-handed? But anyway, I think he's got a lot of smarts, no question about it. He may be goofy, but let's hope that the goofiness is something that these guys can play with. They can play. He wants them to play fast, which is one of my favorite terms when I'm talking about college football. You know that. You got to play fast, and he wants them to play fast, and he wants to play tough. So let's see. He's probably going to be sitting in his office coming up with – he's probably the evil genius about coming up with all these weird offensive plays for Trevor to run. But hey, if you want to beat Andy Reid, you're going to have to coach like Andy Reid.
Yeah, and I think that I mean, looking at this, the coordinator tracker, so to speak, with the Jacksonville Jaguars and what they're going to do here, and how things are going to work out, like you said, is he going to be the guy that's going to be calling these offensive plays, or is he actually going to be looking for people? The Jaguars coordinator tracker right now, as we take a look at it, I want to give an update here and how we see this tracker so far. They've interviewed 4 defensive coordinator candidates, Green Bay Packers linebackers coach and defensive run game coordinator Anthony Campanelli, and they have also interviewed for defensive coordinator Rams defensive pass game coordinator and assistant head coach Aubrey Pleasant, and Las Vegas
Raiders.
That's right. The Las Vegas Raiders D coordinator Patrick Graham. So here's something interesting. Patrick Graham was allegedly up for the job of head coach, and now after hiring Liam Coen, they're looking at Patrick Graham to be their defensive coordinator. A little bit interesting there that a head coach candidate is now still on their list to be a part of their staff for the Jaguars. And Minnesota Vikings defensive pass game coordinator, defensive backs coach Durante Jones has also been looked at for that. Now, the Jaguars previously interviewed Los Angeles Rams offensive assistant and passing game specialist Nate Shalassi for the position here. Taking a look at the latest news when it comes to offensive coordinator, they also looked at Washington Commanders quarterbacks coach Tavita Pritchard. And then the Jaguars hired Liam Coen, obviously, here to figure these things out and figure out what they're going to do here. So offensive coordinator, they are looking for somebody to be there. How involved Liam Coen is going to be? Will he be like Sean McVay was to him? Will he, like Sean McVay, hire a coordinator on offense but call most of the plays? That's yet to be seen. But we know that offensive and defensive coordinators have been spoken to here, and that's where we're at. And then outside of that, we'll see, what comes of this. But there's a lot of great stuff, and I got to give credit to Jaguars.com for having a background and a resume of each of the guys that have been interviewed. So much appreciation to that. PJ, what do you think? I mean, do you want him to be the head coach and call the offensive plays, or do you want him to hire a coordinator?
No, he doesn't need to do that, Daniel. He needs to call the plays. This is his team, and after what he's done over the years, of course, under McVay and under Todd Bowman, he and Baker Mayfield really saw eye to eye. I mean, that's what I want him to do. I want him to take Trevor Lawrence by shoulder pads, shake him a little bit, and say, hey, this is how I want you to play the position. This is what you should call. I'm going to call the plays. I'm going to be in your headphone all game long. That's all I want to do. That's all. And he should.
Yeah.
If he's that good of an offensive coordinator, let's face it. I mean, Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans and so on, and Godwin, those guys are untouchable. We don't have that. We have Brian Tallis, of course, and he's an extraordinary young talent. But he needs to. I want him to do. I want him to do anything else, Daniel. Anything else. He can run a team if he wants to. Fine. Put all your little rules and regulations all over the board and everything like that. But call the plays.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll see. I'm a proponent of having coordinators and letting the head coach oversee everything and not be calling defensive or offensive plays, because I want them focused on the team as a whole and the task at hand and not have to do two jobs at once. So we'll see what the Jaguars end up doing. PJ says let them call the plays on offense. I say hire somebody else. Speaking of offensive coordinator, though, the Chicago Bears, I believe, have hired away Press Taylor, the former offensive coordinator for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I was questioning if that was working out at all, and the Bears have allegedly hired him and taken him onto their staff. So PJ and I got plenty more to talk about. We're going to go to the games that were played over the weekend. We'll talk about the Chiefs and the Bills. We'll also discuss the Eagles and the Commanders in the upcoming big game between the Eagles and the Chiefs, which is another round of a Super Bowl that we saw within the last couple seasons here. So that's coming up right after this fast break inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Stay with us. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're going to be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever going to have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Great Lakes Honda City on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday for sales and service. Find their vast array of vehicles of all different shapes and sizes, from the Accord to the Civic, the HRV, my favorite, the CRV, the Ridgeline, the Pilot, the Passport, and more. Find it all at Great Lakes Honda City. You can go to GreatLakesHondaCity.com today for more information. PJ and I are talking about the NFL. We just spoke on the Jaguars and Duval. So,
you're doing good.
Thank you. Appreciate you. So, heading to the other side of America, where we have the Jaguars that have a top 5 pick, and in other places, there's teams that are fighting for a championship, that being the Eagles and the Chiefs. Let's go to the Eagles game first, PJ. The Commanders scored at will against the Lions. Lions defense was no match for Cliff Kingsbury and everything that he had schemed up. Aaron Glenn and the Lions had no response to it. Now Aaron Glenn is the head coach of the New York Jets, and the Washington Commanders and Cliff Kingsbury are out of the playoffs because as they could not be stopped when they played Philly, Philly couldn't be stopped, putting up almost 50 points on the Commanders. What were your thoughts on that game?
Well, I'm going to say this right off the bat. I as much as I love the Chiefs, I think they're a brilliant organization. Obviously, Mandy Reid has done everything right. He's got the best defensive coordinator in the world, in Spags. And I like Philly in this game. I really do. But I'm going to go through what I think is important. I know that Jalen Hurts is the man. I mean, he was 20 of 28, 246 yards and 1 score. Barkley, 16 carries, 118 yards. You don't stop Philadelphia. Either they're going to stop themselves or you're just going to slow them down. I look for Philadelphia to really put a show on in this game. I love the Chiefs. I'm going to be pulling for the Chiefs, but I think Philly's going to win a game. I think that Philly is they got a hidden talent, I think, in Dallas Goedert. They let him carry the ball twice for 13 yards. I mean, how many times you get the tight end to carry the ball? He catches everything in sight. Hurts and Goddard have got the same kind of relationship like Gronk and Brady does. And anytime there's a good tight end and a good quarterback combination, it's difficult to beat. You got the wide receivers and everything. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Philadelphia can't be stopped, Daniel. They can't. But you can slow them down. And their defense is the killer. I think that they showed Jayden Daniels, I guess they introduced him to the balls to the wall kind of defense in the league. He's a sensational young quarterback. I think he's brilliant himself. C.J. Stroud and him are just going to take over the league with the way they can move and create passing lanes, create offense. It's just great. Philly is tough, Daniel. They look good. Yeah. They didn't look like they'd be stopped. Washington was absolutely no match for them. Even though Daniels put up good numbers, Philly had his number. They're just a very, very solid football team. And I think that they're finally going to raise the flag for the first time, maybe after Pedersen, to be a champion.
Yeah, when we look back on these two games, Washington was playing with house money, and Jayden Daniels is a rookie. The team was coming off of an era that wasn't good, right? You're one of the top 2 picks in the NFL, so you had to find a new coach. They did that in Dan Quinn, brought him over from the Dallas Cowboys. So another bad decision by Jerry Jones. But you bring in Dan Quinn, and you got a new head coach. You bring in Jayden Daniels, you got a new quarterback. They had let go of their premier defensive lineman last season. You bring in new guys to be there for you. You bring in Austin Eckler. Terry McLaurin can play no matter who the quarterback is. And this team really, in my opinion, was playing with house money. There wasn't an expectation. I don't think a lot of people thought this team would get more than 7 wins. So to be number 1 in the NFC East for a while, and then, obviously they lost a few games. Philadelphia became the number 1 team. And then to play on the road and to do what Washington did and to beat the number 1 seed in the Detroit Lions, who were a Super Bowl favorite in my mind and in others' minds as well, I'm sure. Washington did so much this season that people didn't anticipate or expect. So now, after year 1 of is this working with Dan Quinn? Is it working with Jayden Daniels? Now you have this whole long runway ahead of you. I mean, this is a team that almost made it to the Super Bowl on a short runway. Now you have a long runway ahead of you, and the sky's looking up. I think people might want to play for Washington. Maybe they can make some moves in the offseason now. because they're close. They're not that far. And I love the work that they're doing. So nobody should be raising hell in a bad way. Y'all should be raising hell and being happy with those Commanders. On the Eagles side of it, this was a team that I think at points this season was left for dead. People didn't talk as highly of them. It was a little bit quiet. Is Jalen Hurts going to be healthy? Is this going to be this? Saquon Barkley had a great beginning as an Eagle. Then he fumbles the ball. They could have won the game. And now it's like, well, what do people think about Saquon? This team, A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith, there's so many weapons. And they've proven that they don't have to stop you on defense. They'll just keep running the score up like a basketball game. So you got Philly who can score around 40, 50 points. And then on the other side of it, you got Kansas City and you got Buffalo. Once again, it came down to a one-possession game. Once again, it came down to the officials. And once again, I think the officials helped the Chiefs and hurt who the Chiefs were playing, this case being the Bills. I don't like saying this stuff because I don't want to believe in rigged. I don't want to believe that the Chiefs have this special agreement with the refs or that the refs give them the Jordan calls, so to speak. But I'm living in a world where I see a 4th and 1 play that looks like it's a first down. And I've never in my life, Papa Joe, I don't know if you have, but I've never in my life seen somebody fight for a first down and then they didn't even run to the ball. You know how refs usually run right in to see where the spot is? The refs kind of casually walked up like they were just, kind of just taking a little stroll in Central Park. And they get there, there's a guy coming down the line, there's another guy coming up the line, and there's a guy coming from the side. They all get to the ball casually, in no rush, and none of them signaled. Nobody said first down, Buffalo, first down, Chiefs. They panned out, they took the camera off the field, they went to commercial, they came back, and they're like, oh, well, you were gone. Turnover on downs is the call on the field. We never heard the call. We never heard an official. We never saw a signal. And then it gets challenged, and then they uphold the call on the field. Have you ever watched a football game, PJ? You watch a lot of football games. Have you ever watched a football game where no official signals or makes a statement on the field and that they go to commercial and come back and we find out that they made a decision while we were gone?
They didn't look at officials can only do what they can do. I mean, this is a young man's game. These players are big, fast, and strong. And you heard me say it before. Our crews are too old to follow these kids. They're too old to stay up with them. Yeah. You got to be quick of mind. You got to be quick of feet. I mean, it was a terrible call. I don't know if it caused a difference in the game, but it certainly didn't help, and they looked like they were lost. So what happens is the lead referee, I guess, goes to the videotape, and they figure it out. I don't know if they did or not, but I was so pissed at it that they didn't give it to them. That I don't know. Kansas City. By the way, Daniel, this is because of you. This is a new pad. I've gone through 5 pads. They're all stacked up behind me. So if you want to take them to eBay, you can do that. This is a brand new pad.
I love it.
Speaking of Kansas City, if Liam Coen wants to emulate something, I think he's better emulate Coach Dean, Coach Reed. He doesn't look at the defensive side of the ball. Of course he does because he's a head coach. He leaves it to Spags.
Yeah.
Spags takes care of everything. Spags is a world beater and has been for 40 years in this league. So if you're looking for something, Liam, follow Coach Reed. Anyway, McCombs does his stuff. To talk about what you said about the referees, I don't believe that they give Kansas City a break. I don't know, maybe they lean every which way. I think what they should have done at the beginning of the year is, we're going to protect the quarterback, and we're going to protect players that are unattended. If someone's running across the line of scrimmage and misses a pass and some guy clocks him, that's going to be a foul. If Patrick Mahomes back there trying to jitterbug around and he gets knocked to the ground and some guy piles on him, that's going to be a foul. They should have done this beginning of the year, and it wouldn't be so graphic at the end of the year when we're trying to figure out who's playing the best ball. You don't want the referees to cause the game at all. You want to see the players react, catch, run, pass, whatever. That's what's got to be. But Kansas City, for all what they have, you got Jalen Hurts and Dallas Covert and Saquon Barkley. Very quiet, low, just regular guys, gentlemen. Then you got McCombs and you got Kels on the other side, loud and loquacious and all over the place. Just it's the apples and oranges. And I seem to think that the Philly way this year is the way to the Super Bowl. That's just my opinion. I'm sure my son's going to be killing me and whoever else is out there. But I do believe that, first of all, it's probably going to be a pick-em game. So if you're gambling, be careful. You got a 1.5 point either way. But it's a pick 'em game, and I like Philly.
Yeah, and to get back to that 4th and 1, when they called it and ruled it a turnover on downs, it did lead to a Chiefs score, I believe. And then at the end of the game, when Dalton Kincaid did not catch the 4th down heave from Josh Allen, there was a flag that was thrown. And it said flag on the screen, but we never saw it, and the refs never talked about it, and they picked it up. So some people have gone into the mindset of, if he had caught it, were the refs protecting the Chiefs by saying, well, just in case he catches it, let's throw a flag and let's call some type of offensive foul. So what I've said before, and I'll say it again, and I'm sad that I'm saying this, if you want to beat the Chiefs, you have to beat them by more than 8. Because if you beat them by 1 score, the officials can change that. And the frustration that I have is that I'm even talking about this. Because do I want to believe that officials are involved in this? No, I don't want to believe that. After watching years of this, after seeing things this regular season, after seeing the play ends, 1 Mississippi, 2 miss oh, here comes a flag, you think to yourself, why does it look sketchy if it's not sketchy? And I'm hoping that it's not. Now, to Buffalo's point, they ran the ball on Kansas City so well in the second half, it makes me question why they stopped. And there was also in recent history, the Bills were in another playoff game and doing really well, and they weren't running the ball at all, and Josh Allen wasn't running the ball at all, and remember that last year against the Chiefs. So Buffalo, to me, if we're thinking conspiracy refs, I'm looking at Buffalo and I'm going, if running the ball works and you have a really good running quarterback, what the hell are you doing? I mean, they ran the entire possession when they scored. They ran the whole time with Josh Allen and James Cook, and yet they went away from it on the next possession. You took time off the clock, you scored. So I think that Buffalo could have done better in certain areas in scheming. And it always makes me question things when a team's really good at something and they stop doing it, especially in a big game. So that's a thought beyond the refs. And then now we see Philadelphia and Kansas City. You're going with Philadelphia. I think that Kansas City has the momentum, right? They have the wave. They have Taylor Swift. And the thing is, having all of this like hoopla and entertainment stuff and who's going to be in her booth and Caitlin Clark and the Kelsey family, and I feel like that also kind of makes people lean away from this is just a game, because it's like, well, obviously you want Taylor Swift and the cronies to win. You want like Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds because they're all in that booth. So I think what the Eagles should do is they need to put a lot of people in their booth. I want the Eagles to put some people over there. How about the Eagles give me, some of my crushes that I have? How about the Eagles put some people over there that I like, that I enjoy, someone that, a beautiful woman that I want to look at? How about some of my favorite people go and sit in that booth? So then we'll equal out the booths? I don't know. But the game should be played on the field. The Philadelphia Eagles are a fantastic offense, and They've obviously created opportunities. Washington bit themselves in the foot by having turnovers. So I think, again, like I said in the Buffalo Chiefs game, it comes down to, can you take a possession away? And I said that the Bills would have 2 takeaways from the Chiefs. They had 1. And that 1 they turned into something. The Eagles and the Chiefs, somebody's going to have to take the ball away. You never want the ball in the hands of Pat Mahomes with a couple minutes left in the game.
That's for sure.
And you don't. And so if the Eagles can score up to 50, and the first game this entire season that the Chiefs scored more than 30 was this past weekend, then you would lean more on the side of Philadelphia's offense. But if this is a defensive game, who's going to show up? Who's going to show out? We know that the Chiefs can wreak havoc with their defensive line. We're taking a look at this Eagles-Chiefs matchup, and for me, I want to see Saquon, personally in my heart, I want to see Saquon get a Super Bowl, because I said over and over and over again, that man is stuck with the Giants. When his rookie contract is over, he's hightailing it out of there, and he's going to go to a good team. He's going to be done with this offensive line that doesn't block for him and all this quarterback woes, and he's going to go somewhere else. And he went somewhere else, and now he's in the Super Bowl, and the Giants are one of the worst teams in the NFL. So, to me, I think that Philadelphia is what a lot of people are picking and they're hoping for. I think it's hard to go against the Chiefs because they do seem to get the calls when it comes down to the crunch time of the game, especially. So I don't want if the Eagles are stuck in a one-possession game with a couple minutes left, I don't trust the refs to help you out, Philadelphia. Now,
that's right.
I think Philly can do it. I think they're capable of doing it. I would like to see them do it, but I've already stated that the Chiefs are a dynasty. They have 3 Super Bowls with Andy Reid, and with Pat Mahomes. So they've already gotten to 3. They'd be the first team to have 3 in a row. What I said years ago, that Pat Mahomes could overtake Tom Brady as the greatest quarterback in the NFL of all time, if he wins this year, that is a very real conversation. So, but we missed something, PJ. We missed the fact that this is the Andy Reid Bowl. Andy Reid took the Eagles to multiple, NFC East titles, NFC Championship games, went to the Super Bowl, didn't win. They left him for dead. They thought he was out of the NFL. He comes to the Chiefs, who are 2-14, and he has a better career there than he ever had in Philly, and he had a good career in Philly. So this is the Andy Reid Bowl. So I'm asking you, what do you think about the fact that Andy Reid has led both of these franchises to successful moments, and now here he is again?
Andy Reid is a brilliant mind. He's a true leader of men. They love him. I mean, we know that. But I'll tell you how smart Andy Reid is. And Liam, listen to what I'm telling you. Chiefs had a third down with game in hand, or game not in hand. They had trips right, motion right. They come back left and throw a 17-yard pass to Sammy Perrin, and he gets a much-needed first down that really salted the game away. That's how smart Andy Reid is. He can see things on the field. I'm used to looking up in the press box. These OCs are down there looking at everything, moving all over the place. I don't know what's more important, whether you're on the field or you're up high. But that's how smart Andy Reid is. He didn't use Travis Kelce, didn't have to, because his wide receivers caught some balls. So you're right about this being an Andy Reid week. You're gonna have to outscore Andy Reid. That's it. You're not going to slow him down. They're not going to slow Philly down either. If it's going to be a 35-28 game or something like that, 31-28, I just want to see a good game. But Andy Reid is brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah. So we shall see. We got some time to make our final pick here, as the game will not be this weekend. It'll be the following weekend, as we have Pro Bowl down in Orlando, Florida this week. Any final notes, PJ, for this week?
No, I think that the head coaching carousel is just about stopped. Apparently no one wants to go to New Orleans. Everyone is pulled out. The only one who's still there being thought about in high regard is Kellen Moore. And, you're not going to talk to him until the Phillies done with a Super Bowl. So it's the coaching selectiveness is just not, they got to deal with the Rooney Rule. And I like to say they got to deal with the Italian Rule too, because we don't ever get interviewed for any games, Daniel. We don't get nothing. So the Italian Rule has to be in there if the Rooney Rule is in there. But anyway, it's all flummery, and they skip around it. They do this, they do that. Yeah. I feel sad for New Orleans because they're probably going to get the short end of the stick. I just hope that everyone's healthy. The Pro Bowl, Danny, you were going to ask me about the Pro Bowl, weren't you?
I know you're not going to watch it.
No. No, I think they got a relatively healthy lineups, both teams, and made the best person win and the best team win. But yeah. I just like Philly.
Yeah.
And you like KC.
I will withhold my thoughts. I don't like I'm withholding until next week. I don't like the Kansas City. I don't like that they get all these calls. And so to me, it's like I want to pick Philly, but I feel like, Philly's not going to get that call down the stretch type of thing. So we'll see. We got some time to pick it. All I want to let people know is if you believe in conspiracies, why were they playing a Super Bowl commercial with Doritos that only featured the Chiefs? And that was during the Eagles game and the Chiefs game.
The number one fan of the Phillies is who? Let me see how good you are.
The number one fan.
The number one fan for the Phillies.
The Phillies or the Eagles?
No, the Eagles. I'm sorry, the Eagles.
The number one fan for the Eagles?
Right. And he will be in a box, I'll guarantee that. He doesn't miss anything.
The number one fan for the Eagles, is it John Bon Jovi?
Mike Trout.
Mike Trout. Okay. All right.
Mike Trout.
All right.
I thought Eagles man.
But by the way, Bon Jovi was at the College Football Playoff National Championship. So Bon Jovi was there. I got to meet Captain America, Anthony Mackie, whose movie comes out in just a couple weeks. So that was a lot of fun at the College Football Playoff National Championship. Kane Brown was there singing outside. I like me some Kane Brown. So there's a lot of good stuff going on there. And speaking of the College Football Playoff National Championship, Notre Dame royalty, Joe Theismann, comes on in just a few minutes here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. For now, from the frozen tundra of central New York and the warmer climate of the Lando Lagoon, I bid you adieu, and I look forward to talking with you soon, PJ.
Okay, thanks. Have fun with Joe Theismann.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
See you. And coming from Papa Joe here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We will take a step aside for a fast break. In just a few minutes, about 11 minutes, we will have Joe Theismann on the broadcast. Royalty of Notre Dame, royalty of the Washington Redskins at the time, who became the football team, who are now the Commanders. Washington royalty, Super Bowl champion, will be joining me to speak on a bunch of different topics, including, but not limited to, his thoughts on the quarterbacks that we have seen in the Final Four, that being Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Jayden Daniels. We'll go deeper into Jayden Daniels, as he is a member of the Brethren of the Washington franchise. So we'll speak about Jayden Daniels. We'll also talk about the Irish in the College Football Playoff National Championship, Riley Leonard and his thoughts on the run that they made. So a lot of great stuff coming up about football and life with Joe Theismann in just a few minutes here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life from inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Here's a message from Renee from Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McInerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Brian and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Brian and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Brian's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Brian's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Here is a special message from Brian Bruno, owner of Servomation Refreshments Incorporated.
I grew up in the family business, had the experience of working for a national food service company with thousands of employees, and as much as I enjoyed the experience I had, there's something about, owning my own company and being able to change the things I saw wrong with the industry firsthand, which is why I moved back to my hometown in Canastota, New York, to launch Servomation. It was back in 2007. When we first started the business in 2007, really you didn't find any machines with credit card readers. There was a lack of variety in machines. You got stuck with basically whatever the vending company wanted to sell that day. There was a lot of inefficiencies in the business, and those were all things that we saw as opportunities, both from a customer level to improve and from an operating level to be more efficient. We've really been at the forefront of introducing retail technology into our space. We were doing self-checkout back in 2009 before it really became a national phenomenon. The whole point of it isn't to just improve the customer experience. It's to make it feel more like a retail environment where people don't have to be afraid of what they're buying behind glass. They don't have to be afraid of not being able to see the ingredients of the packages. It was an easy transaction from that standpoint. If we were to reinvent something, we wanted to make sure what we were making looked and felt more like a deli and not like something that you would traditionally see in a vending machine. I was tired of hearing for years the customers say the wheel of death because the vending machine would circle around with the same tuna salad in it. What we wanted to do was it really change the perception of that food. So allowing customers to touch it, allowing customers to feel the weight of it, allow customers to see the freshness of it, and also the variety of it really helps them change the perception and ultimately the value of what we bring to them. The point of differentiation you have to make is either in value or the quality. And I think on both of those fronts, Servomation has really, in large part, changed that value system for employees. So they no longer have to worry about bringing their food from home or having to leave their desk during the day and rush out to get back in time for their break to end. We're bringing something that they can count on in their break room every day, and they know it's going to be there, they know it's going to be fresh, and they don't have to worry about it being sold out or something that they don't enjoy. We've also heavily invested in flavored water machines, so you can get a glass of water with a fresh piece of fruit in it, along with bean to cup coffee machines. So there's not a day that goes by we're not surprised when we get customers that call us and say, we didn't know you could do all this. We're really lucky to have a strong group of dedicated employees. Most of our employees have been with us since inception. They're family to us, and people like doing business with people they like and trust. And I think the same thing goes for employees. In a day and an age where there's a lot of corporations that just look at an employee as a number and don't get to know them, that's just not the way I was raised or how I like to do business. So we're a little old-fashioned. We like getting close to our employees. We like knowing how we can help them. We like knowing how we can improve their lives, adjust their schedules, whatever it may be to help improve their quality of life. And we think in the end that makes for a happier employee. We're fortunate enough to have really grown over the last several years, and from Pennsylvania to Massachusetts to Connecticut, we really do have a strong connection, even though we're not in the rooms every day with these employees. There's not one single employee that we feel like we don't know, and certainly we know they can call us at any time, and they're definitely treated as family to us. I wake up every single day really excited to surprise our customers in a good way. The one thing I could tell you is I think that every one of our employees and every one of our customers will continue to be at the forefront of every decision we make.
Find out how Servomation can help you and your business by going to servomation.com.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Proud to be here with you inside of the Great Lakes Honda City studios. And I am very proud to be welcoming a friend back to the broadcast. It's been a minute since we've been here together, but it is always an honor and a privilege to have Mr. Joe Theismann here with me, picture in picture. We started talking back, I think, in 2009, 2010, and now we are here together once again. Notre Dame royalty, Washington Commander royalty as well in my book, Super Bowl champion of Super Bowl 17 over the Miami Dolphins. Mr. Theismann, how we doing?
Good morning, DT. Hope you're doing well. I had a great couple of weeks getting ready for the national championship game and, of course, the NFC championship. And since then, things didn't quite go the way we wanted, but neither of the teams quit, and both of them I'm very proud of.
Yeah, and I want to start with Notre Dame because I got to be with them at the College Football Playoff National Championship game and got to cover all the way through. Your thoughts on the 12-team playoff, because Molly McGrath at ESPN, when I interviewed her, she said something to me that really struck me. She said, if we didn't have a 12-team this year, we wouldn't have the two teams playing for the national championship because Notre Dame and Ohio State wouldn't have made it into the four. So your thoughts on 12 teams, if you thought it was a good bracket, a good system, and about Notre Dame making it all the way through?
Well, first of all, I think it is a good system. Notre Dame, as an independent, was given an opportunity really to participate. I mean, obviously it was the first year. So there are little things that I think they need to tweak. For example, if you have the best record in college football or one of the best records and you don't win the conference, you shouldn't necessarily be denied a bye. I mean, it's all about positioning yourself in the best possible way from a seasonal standpoint to be able to be positioned in the playoffs. And now it's just the conference champions that wound up getting by. So that's something I think they're going to have to take a look at. I do feel like 12 is enough, but we're running on 15, 16 games now for college football players, Dan. I mean, we're paying them like professionals. I guess we're making the season like a professional season as well. And then alongside the 12-team playoff, you really have to take a hard look at the portal dates. For example, Penn State's backup quarterback opted out of that game. Yeah. An opportunity in the playoffs. He's not a part of the team because of the portal. So I think, that affects the college playoffs as well. So there's things that need to be done, but I think for the first time out, it came off very, very well.
Yeah, and you brought up the fact of the portal open dates, and it's really their open dates are very poor in my opinion. Right after the end of the regular season, before a bowl game is played, and before there's the college football playoff, you can opt out. So a lot of these bowl games saw that teams had opted out. I mean, Marshall had lost so many players to the portal that they decided to not go to a bowl game against Army. And then Syracuse, my hometown, played in a bowl game against Washington State, where Washington State had over 20 players and their head coach no longer a part of that team. So, I mean, it seems like it's normal, very understandable, common sense here to talk about, Joe. But I would imagine that as we move forward, we should maybe look at the portal opening after everything ends. So let the bowl games be played, let the college football playoff be played, because I'm sure, I mean, you have an ear to the ground. I'm sure you have friends in the business. I had coaches telling me that while they were preparing for college football playoff games, they had their players being called by other coaches on other programs asking them to get in the portal.
I know, it's just, it would be like if you're in the last year of your contract at let's say the Dallas Cowboys, and you're getting a call from the New York Giants or the Kansas City Chiefs or the Las Vegas Raiders, while you're trying to prepare for the remainder of the season or the playoffs. It's a little absurd. Again, that is something that really needs to be examined. And then, we see a lot of guys and gals staying in college because they're making more money than they would as pros. And what scares me a little bit about the NIL situation is when universities have the capability to pay the players, there are universities with a lot more money than others, which is going to create an incredible imbalance. And to me, so you really got to take a step back and look at the NIL and see what's best for college football players, what's best for those student athletes. You have to step back and take a look at it and say what's best regarding the portal when it comes to teams having a chance to compete for a title. I think those two things need to be examined much more closely than we've just accepted the norm right now.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, it's here, and it seems like obviously these things are here to stay because you're not going to put Pandora back in the box. But, I mean, it seems like it was all kind of done prematurely. We were dealing with the beginning of a pandemic at the time that California state law had made the decision that they were going to allow name, image, and likeness. And then the portal, which had been open for other sports but wasn't really kind of spoken about, it became kind of just a free agent frenzy because you don't have to sit out a year anymore. Coaches can't give you a list of schools you can't go to. You can transfer within conference if you'd like to. What can we do as we step forward, Joe, to corral this? I mean, can you put a fence around the horses after they've been running wild for 5 or 6 years now?
Well, I think you have to. You have to do something regarding the portal. I mean, you just can't have teams deciding not to participate. I mean, this is your last year. Basically, this is your last year of college football. You have a chance to play in a bowl game. Those times were very important to me. And I enjoyed the Cotton Bowl, the two I played in. And having an opportunity to be able to do that. have an opportunity to participate in a bowl raises money for the university, not necessarily for the football program, but for the university so that it can be used in other places.
Right.
So it's that needs to be examined as far as the portal goes. The NILs, like I said, if you have a school that has a lot of money, they're going to pay a lot of money. And this is what bothers me, is the University of Tennessee, and I believe I'm correct in this, are raising their ticket prices 20%, football ticket prices 20%, to raise money to compete in the NIL market. Well, why don't you raise your ticket prices to compete in the architectural market?
Yeah.
Or the bioscience market, or someplace, where it's not so obvious that you're just trying to raise money to pay players. And I'll tell you something, a lot of the players they go get only stay a year anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, there needs to be a time frame on as far as the portal goes. There needs to be a time frame that you're committed to. Maybe you commit to 2 years. You're at this particular university 2 years. After that, you go do what you want. I think they have to change the committal dates. I think that has to be taken and examined. And the NIL, that genie's out of the bottle. You've got alumni with tremendous amounts of money that are throwing them at the university. I just wish they'd consider putting that money, or some of it anyway, to other uses at the universities.
Yeah, and like you said about Tennessee, their original numbers of what they wanted to raise it, they had a percentage, they increased the percentage, they're calling it a quote-unquote talent fee to pay the players here. And I mean, it's just wild. I have to ask you this question, Joe. You have done a lot of great things in your career, and you've been a spokesperson, you've been on different commercials, you've had the opportunity to utilize your brand in different ways. If Joe Theismann had NIL back in the day, would you be someone who partook in NIL?
It's a very difficult question to answer, only because then you have to go back and examine the whole situation. You're a young, you're 18, 19-year-old kid. Certainly you have counsels now, you have, attorneys, now you have managers, now you have agents, there's the family involved. I really don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm not a rear view mirror guy, Dan. I'm sort of the guy that looks through the windshield and sees what's out front. I would, I guess the logical answer people would expect is it would depend on how much money was available. But that's not for me at the university. The University of Notre Dame offered me a scholarship. Just as an example, I believe SMU, the tuition is $85,000 a year. If you're on scholarship at a university like that, let's say the number is $70,000 a year for tuition. If you're on scholarship, you get room, board, books, and tuition. Roughly $90,000. You're actually getting that other parents have to pay the university for. And I've argued this point time and time again. And you keep saying that the athletes are not being compensated. And that to me is a ridiculous argument, because you are being compensated with your scholarship, actually being given more than just the tuition.
Yeah. And
would I have considered the NIL? I really don't know what I'd have considered when I was 19, 20 years old. I mean, like I said, that's sort of water under the bridge. And I think we need to focus on taking a hard look at what's here today. So many things have changed in sports and society and life. We need to take a look at how can we make collegiate football something that people can enjoy again without wondering, just like they do about the NFL, is my favorite player going to be here or gone next year?
Yeah. I mean, and you bring up a wonderful point in that. And like you said, when people say, players aren't being compensated, but you look at the fact of, and as you're saying that, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, $90,000 a year that all of these student athletes aren't paying. When you see this constant rise in tuition for a student like me who got recruited to play D3 basketball, there's no money in that. There's no tuition in that. I had to gain money from my grades. I got a presidential scholarship. I got a scholarship from one of the places that I was working at the time, offered scholarship for books and whatnot. And so I look at that and I say to myself, if the price of tuition keeps going up and this free tuition keeps going to student athletes, and we're now expanding the rosters of college football, then we shouldn't be surprised when the tuition for a student like myself is higher, because we're trying to offset the cost, because the school's not going to eat the cost. They're going to give the cost to somebody else.
It becomes prohibitive for you to be able to get into the university, to be able to do the things you want to do. There's a lot of factors to consider in it. And I certainly don't have the answers, but I think there are people that are involved in making the rules that need to sit down and examine what they believe might be best for college football.
And so that question becomes here with Joe Theismann, Super Bowl champion and Notre Dame and Commanders quarterback, alum here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Do we need a commissioner of college football?
There's so many governing bodies now, Dan. Who knows what? I mean, what authority would the commissioner have? I mean, take Roger Goodell, who's the commissioner of the NFL. The NFL is made up, actually, I don't know if people realize this, each of those teams are members of an association. Yeah. And Roger is the commissioner of the NFL Association of Owners. And so everybody has a voice, and there's different committees that are involved in the NFL. And I think I don't know how the NCAA really works. I would be remiss in trying to state something that isn't known for me as far as a fact goes, but I'm assuming that there are different elements inside the NCAA where certain people are on certain committees that examine certain things that are going on in college football.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. All of these things hopefully have some type of parameters that make sense as we step forward, as we try to return to common sense, essentially. You mentioned being a part of the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic a couple times. I've covered that bowl a few times, was down there for this season with Texas and Ohio State. What did you like about the Cotton Bowl and your experience there? Because that's one of the bowls I really got to sink my teeth into these last few years. So I'd love to get your thoughts on actually playing in the bowl.
Well, actually, as a player, you don't get to enjoy all the amenities. You get to go out and, maybe you compete in bowling or something else, some type of activities. You get to spend a little time with players from other teams. But, we were the first team at Notre Dame to go to a bowl in 1969, I guess it was, or the January of 70, when we had a chance to be able to go to a bowl game for the first time in like 40 or 50 years. So it was a first-time experience for so many of us, having been on the team. And then we went back the second year to play for a national championship. What we thought would be a voted-upon national championship. And I've always believed if you beat number one, you're number one.
Yeah.
You don't automatically elevate number two to number one if you beat number one. But anyway, that's another story for another time. But as players, you're really involved in your preparation. You've worked so hard to get there. You want to show your skills. You want to show your abilities. It's a rare opportunity for some of the athletes to be able to show the scouts that they can play the game. And you want to be at your best. And so, you go through the practices, and you don't have a lot of time as a player to be able to enjoy the sights. I mean, you'll get around a little bit, but you're really focused on playing a football game. We were focused on playing Texas.
And you, as a quarterback in the history of Notre Dame, Riley Leonard is someone that I spoke to when he was being recruited many years ago. Between Duke and Syracuse, he was choosing. He chose Duke. I was of no surprise to that. David Cutcliffe had worked with the Mannings and a bunch of quarterbacks that had found a place inside of the NFL. So he chose to go there for a few seasons and then ultimately came over to Notre Dame. I got to see him going into the game. It was great to see a friend again and spend some time. I'd love to get your thoughts, quarterback to quarterback, of the work that Riley Leonard did in his season at Notre Dame.
I think you have to. I think he did a terrific job. Just short answer. But I think you have to understand that in the Duke game last year, 2023, Duke Notre Dame, Riley got hurt towards the end of the year. And then he transferred to Notre Dame, but he never really had a chance to work in Mike Denbrock, who's the offensive coordinator's system, until almost the beginning of the season. He had very little mid-season work. He had very little training camp, only because he was recovering from injury. And I think in the beginning of the Riley Leonard you saw in the beginning of last year, this past season, and the Riley Leonard that you saw in the last game against Ohio State were entirely different Riley Leonards. One was a guy learning the system, figuring out what he was able to do. I think working himself back from injury. In the championship game, you saw somebody who could throw the football. We knew he could run, but I thought he continued to improve with his ability to throw the football. And I believe he's at the North-South game now to participate in that, which is great to go to an all-star game at the collegiate level. And Riley's going to get a chance to show his skill sets there. But I just saw constant improvement. His decision-making, his toughness is unquestionable. His ability to run, unquestionable. He just had to continue to work on throwing the football, and he did a great job doing that. And
we saw in the game, in the national championship game, a lot of people thought that it was out of hand, out of reach, and with under 5 minutes to play, it was a one-possession game, 31-23. Yep. To speak to that, like you said, Riley going through injury, and a great point that he wasn't working in the Mike Denbrock system because he was nursing himself back from injury, and that who we saw at the beginning of the season isn't the same as who we saw at the end of the season. Despite the loss, did Riley show you something that helps his NFL resume in that championship game?
Yeah, I think so. I think he showed the ability to throw the ball down the field quite well. He hung in the pocket. He didn't just automatically take off and run. And that's the biggest thing with the quarterbacks that have the athleticism to be able to make plays with their legs. Can you have the discipline to stay in the pocket, just that little extra beat, to be able to make a throw down the field that creates a big opportunity? I mean, I saw that. I think that's what a lot of people are looking at now. And of course, the invitation he got to go to to the North-South game is a chance to be around professional scouts, to learn from professional coaches, and be able to understand what you're going to have to do to get to the next level. Plus, the other thing that I think is in his favor is this isn't necessarily a very strong class coming out at the quarterback position. Sure. Not like it has been over the last couple of years. So, and we in the NFL, there's 32 teams. Both teams, or all teams, carry at least two quarterbacks. So you have 64 roster spots for quarterbacks in the NFL. There aren't 64 quarterbacks out there that can flat play. Riley's better than some of them that are on rosters, I believe. So it's a chance for him to find a place and then do what he did so well. Learn the system, learn how to play the game, learn how to be a professional in that regard. And I think that's what he learned at the University of Notre Dame. That's the value of the University of Notre Dame. There's the athletic part of it, but there's the academic aspect of it as well. Now, we at the University of Notre Dame, I tell people all the time, nobody ever has to sleep other than on a bed when they travel around the world. Our family is far-reaching, and the University of Notre Dame has a tremendous reach when it comes to taking care of everybody, not just the student athlete, but the students that travel around the world as well. You become a very well-rounded person, and our players are that way. I mean, we've got some guys on that football team that are going to go number one. They're going to go, in the first round, I should say. And then Al Golden, our defensive coordinator, went on to take the DC job at Cincinnati for the Bengals. So, the resumes are strong for the people that have coached at the university and also for the players.
And you talk about those that have coached there. Marcus Freeman, I had my first opportunity to speak with him this season. And in his time at Notre Dame as the full-time head coach, we know that he went 9-4 in 2022, then he went 10-3, and then he went 14-2 and played for a national championship this season. Marcus Freeman, but you said well-rounded education. It's not just about football. It's not just about sports. I spoke with Marcus Freeman about the fact that his team so unapologetically speaks about God and their faith. We hear a lot of that from Riley Leonard. We hear it from Marcus Freeman, who became a Catholic. And we, continue to see it just spread throughout this team. It's unique, and I know you could speak to this better than anybody, but it is so unique, and it actually reminds me of my high school, Christian Brothers Academy, that when you go to a place like the University of Notre Dame, faith is not hidden. It is out in the open. It is there to be had, to learn, to have Bible study, to think of things greater than yourself. There's so much more to the education of the University of Notre Dame than just be a good football team. And I'd love for you to speak to it because you experienced it.
Well, one of my mandatory courses was theology when I was a freshman there. So you do learn about the church. You do learn about Catholicism, even though I was a Methodist. I believe this statistic is right. When we played the University of Texas my senior year, I believe there were more Catholics on the University of Texas starting football team than there were on the University of Notre Dame starting football team. Yes, it's a Catholic institution, but all religions are embraced, all people are embraced at the university, and it's a chance to be able to grow and learn about your faith, about things that I think are important foundationally in life. We've just gotten away from some of the foundations that I think have made us as great as we are as a nation. The other ones like that is Jayden Daniels. He gives the Lord so much credit for what he's been able to accomplish, and that's an exceptional young man. Both of these young men are exceptional individuals.
And you led us perfectly into Jayden Daniels. My preseason prediction was that he would have the best season of all rookie quarterbacks for 2024. He absolutely had that, in my opinion. You had talked recently here that he checks all the boxes. What is it about Jayden Daniels to you that makes you believe that this start of his career, which was almost going to the Super Bowl, is just the beginning of what the Commanders are going to get?
I think there's a couple things, Dan, and actually more than a couple, but I'll just highlight a couple. Number one, his insatiable appetite to want to get better. That he wants to be better. He wants to be really great at his trade, not good, but great. And his composure. Nothing bothers him. He's very unflappable. The only time I ever saw him really get upset was when he got hurt and he couldn't go out on the field and play. That upset him, that he couldn't go out and continue to compete. And somebody else deserves a lot of credit in this too, and that's Cliff Kingsbury. I think from a coordinator standpoint, when you have a rookie who's just learning the game and really doesn't have an idea what he's looking at on the other side of the ball, a thorough understanding of it, it's important that you get him involved in the game in a simple way. You run him a little bit. You get the ball out of his hands. You don't want to get him beat up and hit. I remember when, again, I've told this story umpteen times, and I'll tell it again. When Tom Moore, who's a great quarterback guru, was the offensive coordinator in Indianapolis, and he got Peyton Manning. I was sitting with Tom, and he said, listen, there's two things I'm not going to have happen to Peyton. I'm not going to let him get beat up physically, and I'm not going to let him get beat up mentally. And so he got the ball out of his hands quickly, which became a hallmark of what Peyton was able to do, to recognize and get the ball out of his hands so quickly. And I think Cliff has done the same thing with Jayden, giving him a chance to be able to make plays, get the ball out of his hands, move him a little bit. He has great running ability, and he's smart when he runs. Doesn't take the big hits, doesn't take the big shots. I mean, just as an example, 2 years ago, Anthony Richardson, as a rookie for the Indianapolis Colts, he winds up running with the football, and he's gone for 15 of the 17 games. Yeah. And so Jayden understands how to protect himself. And, I just think that, this is the interesting part now. Year two is when it gets interesting. C.J. Stroud had a tremendous rookie season with Houston, struggled a bit this year. Can your team stay healthy? That was one of the things the Commanders were able to do. They stayed pretty healthy this year, especially in the offensive line and wide receiver position. Are you going to be able to have everybody around you that you need to be able to do the things that you need to do? That's paramount. You look at the Chiefs and you look at the Eagles. They're fairly healthy. I mean, everybody think Jalen had a knee problem. He looked pretty darn good to me this past Sunday. Yeah. So I think that I don't see Jayden regressing. I don't see him taking a step back. I see him taking steps forward.
Yeah, and you being obviously a part of this Washington history, when you watch him and you see all of the things that he's capable, like you said, his willingness to learn, he doesn't seem rattled or shaken. He gives reverence to the Lord. He goes out there and he fights. He is not just a good runner, he's a smart runner. When you see him in all that he is, do you see Washington taking another step with him and getting to a Super Bowl?
Again, it's going to depend on how healthy you are.
Yeah.
Obviously, the defense, we were ranked 30th, I think, against the run this year. I think that's an area that they certainly want to improve on. Saquon had some incredible days against us, 148 in the first one, 150 in the second. We saw him break a big play on the first play and the third. To be able to stop the run is going to be paramount for this football team to get where they want to get to. Offensively, I think they're going to be in really good shape. Defensively, they're going to have to address really that one sort of major issue that was a problem for us.
And you broke the story here on the show a few years back here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora that they were going to be called the Commanders. What are your thoughts on the name now? I mean, is it flowing off the tongue, or is it still strange?
Well, Dan, they've had such great success as the Commanders this year. They've had a number of names. You were the Redskins, and then you were the Washington football team. Then you became the Commanders. Now you've had success as the Commanders. That's certainly up to Josh Harris and the ownership group, Adam Peters, the general manager, the direction they want to go in. It looks like there's, things have been cleared for them to possibly be able to build a stadium where old RFK Stadium is downtown in Washington. And as far as the name goes, you've had success with this one. I guess you got to ask yourself a question. Why would you move away from it? You've won so many football games with this particular name. All of a sudden you're going to, sort of throw some questions up again. I'm thrilled with what they accomplished, whatever you want to call them.
Perfect answer. Before I let you go, Joe, I do want to get in quarterback to quarterback. Pat Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, you mentioned him a little bit, but we spoke about Jayden Daniels, spoke a little bit about Jalen Hurts. Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, your thoughts on what they both are bringing to the table right now? Like Josh Allen, I mean, he puts the team on his back. He does everything he possibly can do. But I'd love to get your take on their matchup, because the Bills and the Chiefs, the Bills have their number in the regular season. The Chiefs have their number in the postseason. And I'm going to ask you this question, and I don't know where you're going to go with this, but I'm going to leave it open for you. People watch Chiefs games now, and they expect the officials to get involved. I'd love to get your take on that too.
I just don't see the officials favoring one team or the other. They're under too much scrutiny. They're under too much examination. They miss calls. See, this is where I'm going to go with this. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's take the Houston Texans Kansas City Chief game. There were two roughing the quarterback penalties in that game that were not roughing the quarterback. If we have technology available to correct errors, and certainly the game is moving at a speed where officials have to make a split-second decision. Their goal is to protect the quarterback at all costs, it seems. Not just Patrick, but all quarterbacks. If we have the technology to be able to examine that upstairs in the booth and say, no, that was not a roughing the passer. He never hit him in the head. He never grabbed his face mask, or he did grab his face mask. Why don't we use it? I mean, there are technological advances that allow us to do it.
Yeah.
There's you also, I think, I think Josh Allen made the first down because one official said he did, and the other official said he didn't. And spotting a ball when people are under a pile of human beings is impossible to do correctly. I think what you're going to see in football is you're going to see a chip in the football. There's a friend of mine that basically has created technology called a downator. And if you cross that line with the football, it'll automatically alert the people upstairs or the officials that it's a first down. You don't even have to unpile them. You just basically know that it's a first down because the technology is available. My thing is if the technology's there, use it. One last point, Dan. I believe that you should be able to challenge every play in a football game. I don't want to give you any more challenges as coaches. You've got two. That's all you're going to get. But you should be able to challenge things like face masks. Do you believe that it wasn't a helmet-to-helmet contact? You believe it was, and it's tough to do it with holding. It's tough to do it with pass interference. I'll go back. And the league can change things. Remember a few years ago when there was this, if the receiver looked like he was going to come down inbounds, it was a catch. They got rid of that puppy in a year. Okay, that was gone in a year. And so I believe that we have technology available to make the game a little bit easier for the fans to understand. Certainly it's an aid for officials. It's nothing against their abilities. Like I say, they have a very difficult job. But they want to get it right. But there's also rules that say, if this happens, this is the result. And so why not use the technology that's available? That's the way I look at it.
Perfect.
Here's the other thing. One other thing
Yeah.
is if the ball touches the ground, it's incomplete. Period. No, did the ball move? Did he have his hand underneath it? If the ball touches the ground, it is an incomplete, either interception or pass. Period. Let's make it as simple and easy as possible. Again, for the officials.
Right.
They can examine it. Ball touched the ground, incomplete pass. Let's move on.
You know, did the ball survive the ground? No. I mean, it's a perfect.
What is
statement.
surviving the ground?
Right, and that's the other thing is they didn't even talk about that in the Chiefs game. Is like they're supposed to say, "Did it survive the ground?" Which is always up into somebody's definition of what survive means. So,
yeah. Anyway, it's great. It's the greatest of games. It's exciting. Two great teams are going to play. Philadelphia comes in. As healthy as they're probably going to be, and Kansas City comes in as well. They've got all their horses back, and I know the Chiefs are going for their third, and Philadelphia is having an opportunity to go back for the first time in just a couple of years. So, two very, very, very good football teams are going to play in the Super Bowl.
And my final note with you, Mr. Theismann, is I'm going to defer to you. Everybody asks you the questions on this show. I like to do a thing called rapid fire where we get to flip the script. So there's no preparation for this. You can ask me any question that comes to your mind when you're ready.
Who was your favorite team growing up?
NFL.
Yep.
Favorite team growing up. My favorite player is Dan Marino.
I asked what your favorite team was.
I know. And so it was Marino, but I guess I would say my first recorded favorite team were the Miami Dolphins because it was Marino, it was Irving Fryer, it was OJ McDuffie. So I would say like my first memory of having a starter jacket was a Dolphins jacket. I'm saying that to a guy who beat the Dolphins in the Super Bowl, but that was the first recorded for me, but I kind of shifted to the Cowboys, not because they were winning, but because my best friend was a fan. So I knew more about the Cowboys than I knew about the Dolphins roster, so it kind of just made sense. I know both of my answers are not sufficient to a Washington alum. So
no, I have one other question for you.
Yes.
If you could have played one sport professionally, what sport would it have been and what position would it have been?
I love the question, and I'm still connected to it's one of the places I could shut my brain off. I played basketball growing up. I would play basketball. I would have loved to play professionally for the Toronto Raptors, and I would have played a guard. I'm not a big dude, so I would have definitely been a point guard. But yeah, I would have loved to play basketball professionally. That was a dream as a kid. And yeah, but I got to meet my hero. I got to meet Damon Stoudemire and got to interview him within the last couple of years. But my dream was that he was 20, I would be 21, and we would be on the same team. So
great.
Love the question from Joe Theismann. Joe, I know you're a humble guy. You're a giving guy. I want you to hang here for 1 second while I say this, because I know that you're not going to take these accolades, but I have known you for over a decade. In the time that I've known you, when I text you, when I call you, you always reach back out. You've always made yourself available to me. You've been a friend. You've been kind. And when we had somebody that I knew going through cancer treatment, they asked me, they said, Joe, could you ask him? He could say no, it's totally fine, but we're trying to raise money. I asked you for like a picture signed. You sent a jersey, you sent a football, you apologized that you couldn't send it fast enough. And we have a Washington fan in Jerry Hart that has battled cancer himself, and he is watching and listening right now. So I know that you've touched a lot of lives, you've helped a lot of people, and personally for me, you've been humble, you've been kind, you've been a friend, you've always treated me like your time with me matters. And I just want to say thank you for the things that people don't see that you do, because not everybody's built like you. And I just want to say thank you for that.
Well, Dan, you humbled me. I appreciate those kind words, and I thank you very much. And it's, our relationship is important to me. And to be able to, one thing I learned Didn't learn it right away, but I've come to learn it, is that we're put on this earth for one reason and one reason only, and that's to serve others, not ourselves. Thanks for having me, Dan.
Thank you, Joe. Have a wonderful start to your new year, and obviously blessings to you and your family, and I'll talk with you soon.
Okay, buddy. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. That coming from Joe Theismann one more time here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We'll take a step aside here on the broadcast inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. One of my favorite people, one of my absolute favorite people, and just a wonderful human being. So those words mean a lot. And, you know, when you meet genuine people, it hits you in the heart. So thank you, God, for letting me meet Joe Theismann, because, you know, he's a world beater to so many. And to me, he's a nice guy that's just treated me like he's known me forever. So thank you, Joe, for your time. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. We'll be back on Wake Up Call inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios right after this. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes. And welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. I know that you all heard, I shouldn't say that you all heard, some of you may not have heard it, but the unfortunate crash that happened in Reagan Airport. I was just at Reagan Airport not too long ago. So, you know, to me, I've been this is the thing. This incident seems absolutely insane. And, you know, I've been traveling by plane all over the country for the past, month and a half. So I mean, to me, this is something you never want to think about and you never want to have happen. My mom, a flight attendant of many, many years, I flew American recently. So, to all of the families that are affected by this, my prayers and my well wishes go out to you. I don't even know what to say right now. I'm heartbroken. I'm confused. I think a lot of us are confused how something like this could just happen and that there wasn't, that air traffic control. I mean, yeah, it's nighttime, but like planes fly at night all the time. You have red eye flights. So, I think this whole, it was nighttime and it's like, oh, okay, well, we're used to flying at night. And at the same time, air traffic control, conversating, letting people know where planes are, where helicopters are. It's sad. A passenger jet and a Black Hawk helicopter collided in midair Wednesday, crashed into the Potomac River near Reagan National Airport near Washington, D.C. This happened last night. The plane, American Eagle Flight number 5342, a regional jetliner, was carrying 60 passengers and 4 crew on a flight from Wichita, Kansas. There were 3 soldiers aboard the U.S. Army's Sikorsky H-60, a Defense Department official told NBC News. District of Columbia Fire and Emergency Medical Services Chief John Donnelly told reporters in a news briefing Thursday morning, today, that 27 bodies had been recovered from the plane and 1 from the helicopter. We don't believe that there are any survivors, he went on to say in a quote. So this is what we know. American Eagle Flight number 5342, which was operated by PSA Airlines, collided midair with a Sikorsky H-60 helicopter at around 9 p.m. Eastern Time last night, Wednesday, January 29th. While approaching a runway at Reagan National Airport. The plane had taken off from Wichita, Kansas, and it was set to land in D.C. American Eagle and PSA Airlines are subsidiaries of American Airlines. I know that because, my mom working in the airline industry. The helicopter involved in the collision was a training flight and had belonged to B Company 12th Aviation Battalion out of Fort Belvoir in Virginia. Joint Task Force National Capital Region Media Chief Heather Charez told NBC News. A live stream camera at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. captured the moment of the collision. The video, which has been verified by CBS News, shows an explosion in the area of the Potomac River at 8:47 p.m. Eastern Time. It's a disturbing video, so I would probably tell you to not have your children watch it. You may not want to watch it either. What we know, D.C. Fire and EMS Chief John Donnelly told reporters in a news briefing this morning that the 27 bodies had been recovered from the plane and 1 from the helicopter. He said, quote, "We don't believe there are any survivors," end quote, adding that the efforts at the scene have switched from a rescue operation to a recovery operation. Quote, "It's a highly complex operation. The conditions out there are extremely rough for the responders. It's cold. They're dealing with relatively windy conditions," said Donnelly, end quote, on that. Top figure skaters from Russia and the United States, including 6 people with ties to the Skating Club of Boston, were among the victims. CBS News senior transportation and national correspondent Chris Van Cleve reported that human remains and debris were washing up on the Virginia side of the Potomac River. He said the plane broke into multiple pieces that were sitting in 5 to 8 feet of water. A dive team found what appears to be one of the plane's 2 data recorders, the so-called black boxes. It wasn't clear whether it was the cockpit voice recorder or the one that stores data about the plane's performance. Divers have had some access to the aircraft's cabin. Luggage is among items divers have recovered as well. The helicopter is upside down but appears to be mostly intact. So the plane broke into pieces. The helicopter is allegedly intact here, but they did say last night it was upside down. President Donald Trump said in a statement that he had been fully briefed on the crash. May God bless their souls, he said. Quote, he went on to say, thank you for the incredible work being done by our first responders. I am monitoring the situation and will provide more details as they arise. And end quote. In a Truth Social post, which is a social media outlet, he questioned what led up to the crash, writing, quote, this is a bad situation that looks like it should have been prevented, in caps, not good, with exclamation points, end quote. Donald Trump will address the crash during a briefing at the White House. President Trump will do that right now, actually, around 11 a.m. Eastern time, so right after the show here. Newly confirmed Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth wrote on social media the Pentagon was actively monitoring the situation and, quote, poised to assist if needed, end quote, because they're trying to figure out if there was any reasoning. Some people were saying that the Black Hawk went straight at this plane, and why would it directly go at the plane? How did it not see the plane? And there was also a report that air traffic control had reached out to the Black Hawk allegedly and had asked them if they saw the plane twice, I believe is what I heard last night. So, but we're still trying to get the information, so don't quote me on any of that because I'm trying to figure out what is going on myself. Kansas Senator Roger Marshall said in a statement, quote, tonight we received devastating news of what can only be described as nothing short of a nightmare. My prayer is that God wraps his arms around each and every victim and that he continues to be with their families, end quote. Alexandria, Virginia Mayor Aaliyah Gaskins said on social media, quote, earlier this evening, we were devastated to learn of a tragic aviation incident near DCA, which is Reagan National Airport. Our prayers are with everyone affected. Our fire, police, and emergency personnel are assisting in the regional response, end quote. Alexandria is just south of Reagan Washington National Airport. Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia acknowledged, quote, there's a lot of questions, end quote, about the deadly collision, and went on to say, quote, you can't tell a lot from video footage taken at night, but the footage raises a lot of questions about how this happened, end quote. It's the first major U.S. commercial crash in almost 2 decades. The last major U.S. commercial airline crash occurred in February 2009 when a Continental Airlines flight out of Newark, New Jersey, operated by Colgan Air, I also know that, Colgan Air, crashed into a house as it was approaching the airport in Buffalo. My mom was actually asked to go to that site, which I don't think my mom will ever forget. That plane was a Bombardier Q400. 49 people died in the tragedy. Continental merged with United Airlines in 2010. The last major American Airlines crash occurred in November 2001 near JFK International Airport in New York City. American Airlines flight number 587 and Airbus A300, that's a big plane, crashed just shortly after takeoff, killing 265 people. It was bound for Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. The plane crashed in the Bell Harbor area of the Rockaways in the New York City borough of Queens. End quote. I want to thank CBS News for all of the information that I was able to just read off to you. I am heartbroken. So I'm trying to hold back my tears at this moment in time, because when you see something like this, it's not something that you want to believe. And I saw it while I was in bed, as a lot of people were probably asleep or going to sleep when this happened. And it just, I don't know, it hits you in a certain way. You know, my mom being a flight attendant, knowing a lot of people in the airline industry, my mom does, I do, and having just flown all over the country and really came home, 8 days ago after flying all over the country and flying into Reagan National Airport. So this tragedy is, I prayed last night, and you hear something like this and your head is already telling you there's no survivors, but you're praying that there is. So I want to say a prayer, before we take our final step aside. So if you'll join me in prayer today, I would really greatly appreciate that. So if we can, whatever your denomination is or however you pray, or if you never pray, I would still ask you to join me in prayer this morning. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the most Holy Spirit, amen. God, I ask that you are with everyone who has passed on today. I ask you to take them all into your warm embrace in heaven. I ask you to heal your children and to help them to have peace, salvation, and everlasting life. I ask you to be with all of the loved ones and everyone who knows those that have passed on. I ask you to hold them tightly within your warm embrace as well, that you reach out to them, that you help them, you dry their tears, you hold them tight, and you help them to not be in chaos, to not spin out of control, to not lose themselves, but to gain you deeper, to somehow within this tragedy gain more light, more love, more goodness, and more strength. I ask you, God, to keep everyone who's passed on and all of their loved ones here on earth together through you, because dying you destroyed our death, and rising you restored our life, to build a bridge between life and death, because death will never win and has never won thanks to you. I ask you, God, to help us to be together, to help us to be strong. I ask you to help us to have answers, clarity, and truth, to prevent this from ever happening again, and to help good to come from this moment of tragedy, to bring us closer together, for love to always defeat hate, for goodness and strength and warmth to be with us today and always, and for fear to never win. I pray this in Jesus' most precious name, and I ask you to help us accomplish the impossible, which is to find a way to be okay, to be well at a time where we are in pain. In Jesus' most precious name we pray. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the most Holy Spirit. Amen. We'll take a final step aside from the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. This is Wake Up Call. Thank you for being here with us.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks, located on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, is your one-stop sports card and trading card shop. You could find GG Cards and Breaks open every Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 to 5 right there just off of Teal Ave on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, featuring hockey, basketball, soccer, baseball, football, and more, including Disney Lorcana, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon. You never know what you're going to find at GG Cards and Breaks. Unwrap and unbox things that, if you want to try your luck and say, what can I get in a box? What can I get in a pack? If you want to just see what could be yours. Or if you want to look inside of the cases and look inside of the boxes and get something that you know what you're going to get. A single, a graded card, an autographed card, a 1-of-1, a rookie patch auto. You never know what's going to be at GG Cards and Breaks. Finding something new every day. The treasures of GG Cards and Breaks. They keep us big kids all the time, getting us close to the characters we love, the games we love, the players we love, and the teams we love. There's nothing like GG Cards and Breaks. Let them know that DT sent you. To 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. Open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 to 5. With that being said, back here inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, want to get to some of your messages that were here. Kevin said, once again, a great interview with a person that makes you want to meet due to the person that they are and not just a famous athlete. Being a Giant fan, it's always been hard to you. Got love. So God loved the guy he put out here. That coming from Kevin. And then Kevin went on to say, thanks for sharing the interview and your relationship. You're welcome. So it's an honor for me to have that bond with Joe Theismann and with you, Kevin, and with you, Jerry, and so on and so forth. Jerry said, a tragedy. I must believe in the glory those souls are seeing at this time. God bless everyone involved in this horrible event. And then to the prayer, he said, amen. So thank you, Jerry. I appreciate it. I know you worship the Lord very much so, and I appreciate that worship and that connection. So with that being said, we do pray for the souls of everyone that lost their lives, and we do send prayers to the souls of their loved ones as well, and hope that everybody can find peace and be in the glory of God at all times on earth and in heaven. Amen. In Jesus' most precious name. I thank you for being here today. I thank you for being a part of the show. And I appreciate you for being with us on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. Once we go live, we hop into the archives. We're going to be adding the conversation with Papa Joe, as well as Joe Theismann, and my prayer for everyone involved in this American Airlines flight and in the Black Hawk helicopter. My prayers will be that special will be on all of these, and we'll add each of these pieces to Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, as well as Player FM, Podbean, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, YouTube, Podchaser.com, and more. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. You'll find us there. Big time thanks to our wonderful partner down in North Carolina. That's the Brooklyn Pickle. The Brooklyn Pickle can be found on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina, right by the Pinehurst golf courses. And, of course, when you go in there, let them know that DT sent you, that you heard about it here on the show. Brooklyn Pickle, we just put up an awesome video. And when I was opening my sandwich, I was like, man, I'm going to take a video of because there's excitement when you unwrap a sandwich from the Brooklyn Pickle. And so I did the video, and I put it's like unwrapping a gift. And it is a gift. It was a gift for my stomach. And I think it's like the fastest I ever ate a Brooklyn Pickle sandwich. I was hungry. So the BP is what I get. It's the BP's named after Brooklyn Pickle, right? So get yourself their sandwiches, their subs, their salads, all the wonderful things, the sides that they have, the soups that they have. It's all at Brooklyn Pickle on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. We look forward to seeing you out there. And, of course, many thanks to our partners in Central and Upstate New York, Great Lakes Honda City, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Ma and Pa's, the snack capital of the world on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York, as well as Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Avicoli's Mother's Cupboard, where you can get my sandwich, the Q-Smack Mother, 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. My breakfast sandwich is exclusively at Syracuse staple restaurant Mother's Cupboard. It is bacon, egg, and cheese inside of 2 pieces of French toast. Pick it up and eat it like a sandwich. Cut it up and have it with some syrup. Or if you're feeling barbaric, then put the syrup on the sandwich and eat it with syrup on your fingers, whatever makes you happy. And so you can also find at Carvel DeWitt my Sunday. Don't let the cold weather fool you. Carvel's flavors don't change all throughout the year. They stay amazingly delicious, and you need to get yourself out to Carvel DeWitt today. It is what happy tastes like. It is the exclusive home of my Sunday on 4322 East Genesee Street in DeWitt, New York. It is an ode to the Lemoyne Dolphins that are right down the street from Carvel DeWitt. It's called the DT Dolphin. Mint chocolate chip ice cream, green for the Dolphins, hot fudge, whipped cream, and a cherry, green and gold sprinkles in a chocolate dolphin jumping out of your whipped cream. You will not find it anywhere else in the world but at Carvel DeWitt on 4322 East Genesee Street in DeWitt, New York. Get the DT Dolphin today. Chick-fil-A Cicero, Pizza Man, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Brian's Landing, GG Cards and Breaks, as well as Canine Camp Dog Daycare. If I didn't say it before, if I did, well, I'm going to say it again because they are the best place to bring your dog to the campground and the daycare. And, of course, Servomation, reinventing, reimagining, reinvigorating the vending world. I never knew vending could have this many options. I never know it could have this technology and have stuff that I actually wanted to get out of a vending machine. Servomation changed the way that I see vending. And you can see more by going to servomation.com, servomation.com. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. Find your Dolphins every Wednesday during Dolphin Time, Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni swim over to Wake Up Call in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership. You can find all of our content by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find the Lemoyne playlist. Your Dolphins are also on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to LemoyneDolphins.com and fins up. And happy birthday to assistant coach of the women's basketball team at Lemoyne, Miss Katie Kalinsky. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bobcats every single month in the Bobcat Buzz. Student athletes, coaches, and administration. We got some really cool stuff coming up for you, and I cannot wait for that. So the Bobcats, you can find them by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find the BSC Syracuse playlist with our latest special being a heartwarming. I suggest everybody watches it with your family, with your friends, with people that you love, with your teammates. An incredible, incredible sit-down conversation with a wonderful group of wonderful leaders, young men on the Bobcats basketball team, as well as their head coach, Clay Gagan Sherman. Watch David Honoree, as well as Dallas Carrington and Clay Gagan Sherman in that edition of the Bobcat Buzz and more by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find the BSC Syracuse playlist. You'll also find the Bobcats by going to wakeupcalldt.com. I want to say YouTube again. You should go to YouTube. Thank you to everybody that has, as well as everyone that's gone to wakeupcalldt.com, the homepage, the exclusive partners tab, where you'll find the Bobcats. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com and go Bobcats. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find the Bearcats every Tuesday during Bearcat Time on Wake Up Call, Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. You will find your Bearcat student athletes, coaches, and administration hanging out with me where sports meets life. You can find all of our content by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our Binghamton playlist. The Bearcats are also on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to binghamtonbearcats.com and go Bearcats. With that being said, here on the show, I want to thank the two Joes that were here with us this morning, Papa Joe and Joe Theismann. PJ and I always together on a Thursday and talking about the Jaguars hire as well as the NFL playoffs and the upcoming big game. And Joe Theismann and I speaking on name, image, and likeness, the college football playoff, their new format, the transfer portal, Riley Leonard, Jayden Daniels, Notre Dame, Washington Commanders, and so much more. Proud to have Papa Joe as another dad, proud to have Joe Theismann as a friend, and proud to have you watching and listening every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. In the meantime, if you miss me, you could find me on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, and Instagram at wakeupcall_DT. For now, from the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, I would love to tell you God bless, no stress. Do your best. We'll talk soon.